this new diet I'm on.
Oh, cayenne pepper?
Boy.
Sounds like more trans fats, but okay.
So, what brings a strapping young lad like yourself here?
Chimes a different woman, this one with a cropped haircut, foregoing garish gloves for a plush, long-sleeved sweater. See, now, your sarcasm leads me to believe you know exactly why I'm here, I say, shifting my weight uncomfortably from buttock to buttock. The first woman again interposes.
My sisters and I were just deliberating, shall I say, on what to do about our little visitor. Though, it looks like we've done quite enough already.
She can hardly get out, between chokes of laughter. What? The stairs? The crone in the sweater admits.
Coated them in flaxseed oil. Had a hunch you might be stopping by. They always do,
she says, a pride in the recounting. The old flaxseed oil on the stairs trick. Classic. Sort of a waste. Look, if it's the book you want, I brought it. Didn't even read the whole thing. Who writes 700 pages about medieval board games? And a hand scours an inner jacket pocket, returning empty. The sister with the opera gloves, raven-haired and a constant smirk glued to her beaky face, produces the hide-bound book with a flourish.
Looking for this?
The sister with... Yes, in fact.
You dropped it when you Humpty Dumptied.
Well, you've got it back now. Think you can clue me in on why I'm suddenly overcome with the urge to spend the day playing chess in the park and telling anyone who'll listen about the olden days and how they were categorically better despite my only very foggy memory of them? The graying bob on the sister who heeds my query gives an air of maturity.
Of course, though it's terribly simple. Borrowing a book from the Sisters Three is a pact. And as every witch knows, the best pacts are sealed with blood.
For every day you idle past the due date, you break your sacred vow. Now, isn't it only fair that we get something in compensation?
The younger asks, coyly. Most libraries charge a late fee, I say.
We are not most libraries.
She had a point there. Don't I at least get the privilege of learning the names of my beautiful captors?
Very well.
The woman in the wrist-length sleeve speaks up.
I am Magda, eldest member of the Circle, hatched beneath a budding lunar eclipse, and a blood sorceress of unmatched magnitude.
Her dark-haired sister next says,
I am Soria, second eldest, the scorn of every king and peasant's wife, and enchantress unrivaled.
I'm Tonk. The voice comes before I see the person, utterly silent preceding her introduction, but when I do, it's a wonder I ever missed her. Tonk, if her sisters are thrushes or birds of paradise, is a statuesque condor. The moment her lips purse shut, she vanishes again, becoming one with the background, though she stands a full head and a half taller than Magda. Is that her power? I implore.
Is what?
Soria replies. Never mind.
The time for pleasantries is over, and the hour's drawing late. It is time for you to face your now very sudden fate,
cries Magda, her voice a melodic swell. I brace myself against the broad back of my chair for whatever unthinkable punishment the sister witches have in store for me, and clench my eyes for good measure, in anticipation of... nothing. So, when's my fate going to arrive? He seems a bit tardy.
You're facing it. Right now. You're a weathered old fossil.
Soria says. Huh. That's it?
Wait, what? What do you mean, that's it? You're not going to beg us to turn you back? Sink to your knees and prostrate in our honor?
Says the eldest witch, one eyebrow nearly disappearing into her silver hair. No, I don't think so.
You don't wish to be returned to your former youthful self?
Ponders Soria. I did at first, but I'm getting kind of used to being an old dude. Hey, did you know I qualify for a retirement pension? I didn't even know CDs Please had benefits. Go figure.
This is...
Magda begins, huffing.
No fun!
Small pyre reaches the edges of the E and the N, overtaking them in oranges and blacks. There is a burning sensation in me as well. A burning from the space between my lungs that fills my chest cavity and torches me from the inside out, too hot to scream. When it's over, though, and the heat sink spirals in reverse back into the pit of my sternum, I'm different. Rather, I'm no longer different. Slamming the book closed and tossing it onto a rickety returned items cart, Magda says,
As every good witch knows, suffering makes the magic more potent. A compliant soul is a quick bite, hardly worth the effort. Empty calories, insubstantial.
I'm hurt, I think, I say, genuinely conflicted. Insubstantial though I may be, I was back in taut, unwrinkled skin. I looked as though I'd been steam-pressed the night before a big presentation. Good-looking skin, my imaginary colleagues would say, and I'd shake my head modestly. No, it's just a new starch I'm using. But if my face doesn't reveal my suspicion at the witch's kindness, my voice certainly does. You're really letting me go? Just like that? No strings attached? The witches look to each other, smirks cocked, and Soria pipes up.
You sound like you've dealt with witches before, dearie.
No, I say. Just genies, but there's always a catch. I begin rolling my shoulders, testing my legs with slow pumps beneath the table, and they feel sore like I just worked out before stretching, though thankfully not like I just fell down a flight of stairs in the body of a senior citizen. Magda and Soria circle me, and their avian features grow only more apparent. Magda says, gingerly,
Oh, it's no catch. An opportunity, really. A gift. You see, our majestic youngest sister, Tonk.
Grumbles Tonk, existing for a moment.
Tonk
She continues,
has had some difficulty, and I know this may be hard to believe with her bubbly demeanor. Some difficulty in the world of intimacy.
Oh no, I say, preemptively.
We want you to court her.
Says Soria, bluntly. You want me to tie the knot with your sister? No offense, I'm sure she's a lovely bird woman, but we've only just met, and those benefits at CD's Please are looking a lot less realistic by the second.
Oh, nothing so permanent. Even as an elderly man, you'd be far too young for Tonk. No, just one night out on the town to convince her that dating really hasn't changed very much in 300 years.
Tonk grumbles again, this time with a disagreeable tone.
Hush up. You'll never know unless you try.
Soria scolds.
Well, what say you, human?
The sisters three, witches of a most powerful order, all sharp noses and impenetrable secrecy, stare at me as expectant children in a candy store. I gulp. Do I have a choice? And that's the story of how I went on my first date and wherever. It was not exactly how I expected the event to unfold. I was not the one doing the asking. For that matter, no real asking was done at all. But it turned out surprisingly well. We started the night at Bertie and Betty's grease hovel and enjoyed a tasty, artery-clogging meal, after figuring out the logistics of fitting Tonk through the doorway. Hint, the answer is in the restaurant's name. We ended out the night at a showing of Dinosaurs on the Sun, an indie film playing at the drive-in. Tonk, if nothing else, was a fabulous moviegoer. I, at various points, forgot she was still sitting next to me on top of the town's one pink taxi. That is, until the ending, which I won't spoil, but which was a total gut-wrencher. Tonk, for the first time all night, said through sniffles,
I relate to them so much.
Well, it just goes to show, you can never judge a harpy witch by her feathers. Wait, no, that's not right. Turn your library books in on time and you won't have your life force drained. That's the one. Anywho, what am I telling you for? I bet you visit a library in a town just like this one. It's all the same. Here, there, wherever. This episode brought to you by Skin Starch. If you want the smoothest skin, if you wish that you could go back again, if you wish the world would never end, then come and use our Skin Starch. Like a cyclone, selectively touching down and reducing a barn of low-life magicians to a mountain of debris, while leaving the puppy orphanage across the way totally intact, the modern revolution all but passed over wherever. Where other cities were populated at their every corner with fast food chains and their buildings that invade the skyline, piping plumes of ash, here the atmosphere shines in clear, brilliant radiance. Wherever is no hub of activity. So, when the odd traveling salesmen hawking their nostrums and vacuum cleaners, or backpackers lost on their way to more bustling centers show up now and again, they are invariably the talk of the town. In fact, people only ever seem to wind up in wherever by chance, a mistake of the winds of fate. I've never seen the town on a map. It's a genuine shock, then, on the rare occasion when any person of real note should purposely journey here, much less go so far as to send word of the trip in advance. Word, that is, via glossy, decoratively calligraphed cards that gleam when held at certain angles. The script is looping and precise, and reads, between miniaturized reproductions of posing alabaster models, Eno Fogarty, world-famed sculptor. Fantastically lifelike statues that must be seen to be believed. In wherever, for the autumnal equinox. It made no mention of a location, though if an event of true importance was to be held in our little town, it would be at the Wherever Fairgrounds. Home to every talent competition, Little Miss Bovine pageant, and annual furniture burning, the fairgrounds have a chameleonic attribute that make them suitable for goings-on of any nature. It had not, however, in its history, ever hosted a fair. If we're calling a spade, it's a cemented lot, dappled with deep cracks like scars that house dandelions and beetle colonies. A thinly wooded thicket leading into the Wherever Forest flanks its western border. But, were a traveling circus ever to plant roots in Wherever, this would certainly be the place for it. Today, on this gateway between seasons, the weather displays appropriate indecision, compounding strong winds that come and go with a persistent, glowering heat, summer's last vestiges. I make it to the fairgrounds around noon, expecting to have the run of the place, but from the looks of it, the rest of town also spied the advertisements, brazenly tossed on the ground outside Stuff-A-Plenty. If not from the glare they reflected, then from slipping as the laminated surface contacted pavement. That second one definitely didn't happen to me. Harsh light beats down on the acre of gray pitch. Insects skitter about their reclaimed portions of the lot, and nothing separates the fairgrounds from just that, a lot, except for the new addition resting at its upper reaches. A pair of short steps that lead up to a sizable platform, split at its middle by a seam, a hinge, probably for folding and easy transportation during tours. Everyone eyes the foot-high makeshift stage, on which rests 5 billowing tarps, erect as if suspended by invisible wires, and spread out evenly across its width. Some sit along the chipped concrete, most stand, grouped in small scattered clusters that gossip in a nervous anticipatory fervor.
What are those things on stage?
I hear one young girl ask the adult, grasping her tiny hand.
Works of art, sweetie.
The woman, her mother, responds, not looking away from the compact clutched in her other hand, in which she inspects a blemish I can just make out from where I'm standing. Right now, all these works of art look like are people in bad Halloween costumes, the kind where you cut holes in an old sheet and call yourself a ghost. I've seen real ghosts, and they don't fancy low thread count bedding. And anyway, these tarps don't have eye holes. They simply stand, unmoving, except for the infrequent gust that flutters their edges like a skirt over a steam grate. After a while, the buzz of the audience transforms from curiosity to antsy unrest to boredom. And then, As the first wave of heads begin to lower and check wristwatches, a scream rings throughout the crowd. Our heads all turn as a flock of flamingos to the little girl, the same one from before, and then in the direction of her outstretched arm, toward the stage and the tarps.
It moved! I saw it move!
Her mother, obviously as startled as the rest of us, attempts to console her.
Oh, that's just the wind, sweetie. No, it moved!
But before her mother can gather the words, she is interrupted by an audible rustling, the crinkled shuffling of polyester, nails scratching a vinyl record. Quiet befalls the gathering of townsfolk. All except the little girl, that is, who says, vindicated,
See?
And the eagle-eyed tyke is right, for the middle tarp is bulging at points. Are those handprints? Movement halts, and then starts up again, almost angrily, an unseen wrestling match brewing beneath its cover. Not a whisper escapes the crowd. Shadows stretch and evaporate beneath the tarp as it raises, inch by inch, and then, like a discarded plastic bag, is launched into the air. The shiny lacquered sheet fans out into a crumpled circle at the back of the stage, and standing in its place is no mere marble recreation of a person, but a woman, in the flesh and blood and dust-covered overalls. The audience, after picking up its collective jaw, is a chorus of gasps, oohs, and ahs.
Did you see them set this whole thing up?
One onlooker asks.
I didn't, but she must have been standing there half the day.
Another responds. Similar exclamations of awe are sounded off. On stage, following her dramatic reveal, the woman has yet to address her spectators. She is tall, made taller still by a thigh-high pair of emerald snakeskin boots. Around her head, a checker-patterned scarf, flush with yellows and reds and fading indigo. She has perceptive eyes, the eyes of a lapidary, always observing and analyzing detail, and her curious eyes roam over the assembled lot. That is, the lot of people, not the lot on which they're standing, though she is sure to take in just how well-kept of a lot it is. For the first time, I also glance about the surrounding faces, recognizing most, though placing very few names, before my gaze rests on a familiar pudgy one, which shoots me a jovial grin as we lock eyes. He is standing nearer to the stage and waves me over, so I needle through the groups of clucking hens, and when I'm in arm's length of my new, round landlord, he serves up a chesty laugh, a pat on the back, and says, "Funny seeing you here." I didn't peg you for a fan of sculptures, I say, making small talk, though immediately wondering what sort of vibe a fan of sculptures might give off. "Oh, I'm not, but Pamplemousse can't get enough of the stuff." Just then he turns his right side to me, revealing an orange tote hanging by a white nylon strap from his shoulder, and in the bag, the nearly translucent red-eyed reptile who'd quickly become the apartment's unofficial mascot. "Isn't that right, buddy?" As if recognizing the spotlight is on him, Pamplemousse blinks and flicks his tongue happily. "His favorite is Michelangelo's David," the landlord informs me. A sequence of polite golf claps that should have been hard to hear over the clamor successfully incur silence. When focus has settled squarely and noiselessly on the stage once more, the artist lowers her hands and begins, in a voice all too gentle to rile, yet powerful enough to captivate. "I'm too ecstatic to welcome you all, citizens of wherever, to this, the fourth stop in my flyover tour.
in which I bestow the alms of my precious gift to oft overlooked regions of this vast nation.
She pauses for effect.
I, Eno Fogarty, have crafted the human truth in mineral, and today reflect that humanity back to you,
She says, and walks up to each tarp, ripping one after the other from its hidden charge. The oohing and ahhing kicks up again, this time with the wonderment that can only be encapsulated in one word. Wowee! Even I had to let out a wolf whistle. The 4 statues she uncovers glisten, their swirls of whites and pearl grays enhanced in boldness by early autumn glare. This sunny sheen is the one factor distinguishing the veins running along the arms and legs of her facsimiles from those coursing with real blood. From where the landlord and I stand, a few feet from the platform, if you lobbed a pebble at one of them, I'd expect it to rub its head and yell, "Hey, what's the big idea?" The promotional card did not lie.
grief, joy, abject terror, the bittersweet ale of life as still frames. This is what I've brought before you.
As she speaks, she circles the stage, bobbing and weaving through the uncanny figures. Each subject is male, with builds ranging from broad to lithe, and she wilts into the arms of the largest, a companion in stone.
And in 2 days' time, I will unveil a 5th of my marble masterpieces, conceived of and created here in your quaint homestead.
At this, the audience roars an approving cheer, an approval laced with incredulity, if the underlying murmurs are any indication. A full sculpture, not just a tawdry bust, with the craftsmanship of those present in just 2 days? Unheard of! But there isn't a hint of pretense in Eno's delivery. Her confidence is nearly as staggering as the proposition.
Until that date, however, you may approach and behold, though only with your eyes.
And she steps to the back of the stage, her gaze unflinching. Consent in hand, the crowd fulfills its namesake, crowding the stage in a swarm not unlike locusts, starving for the scarce crop that is fine artistry. The rabble preoccupied, Eno takes another cursory purview of the fairgrounds, and stops when she looks in my direction. But it isn't me she's set her sights on. The landlord and I have just elbowed our way out of the mosh pit of ravenous art connoisseurs when I noticed Pamplemousse missing from his satchel. A quick look to the stage, however, and I see the Tegu perched, it would appear, at its very edge, staring at, no, studying the 4 statues with a one-mindedness usually reserved for dragonflies. The surprise of a woman's voice nearby interrupts this chain of observation as I turn to see the event's host and honoree in the midst of a conversation with my amiable new landlord. Well, not so new anymore. New, relative to the old, unhinged scientist landlord. They're having a lively chat from the looks of his face-encompassing smile and the booming guffaw he releases after her every line of subdued response. "Me?" I hear him say, and his face is cherry red with amusement. When their conversation comes to an end and the landlord bounces back over to me, he relays, giddily, that Eno, the Eno Fogarty that he'd heard of only just today, wants him to act as muse for her latest creation. And could I imagine it? Him, a model. "Can you imagine it? Me, a model?" he asks. "I won't need to imagine it. It's happening, I say, and he beams. We're going to discuss more of the particulars, he says. But I'll see you back at the apartments. And with that, he jogs off toward the stage, still packed like sardines with audience members, hemming and hawing at the chiseled delights. Having seen everything I need to make the right countertop selection for my kitchen island, I make for the fairgrounds exit. Nearing the parted iron gates that act as their entrance, however, a sparkle, a refraction of light meets the corner of my eye, and I look to the ground to see another of Eno's announcements? No, it's a round, powder-pink compact, stamped on its lid with a golden star, and laid open, bearing its miniature mirror. I pick it up and glance about for the mother and daughter, who seem to have already left. Inserting it into a jacket pocket to give Beatrice later, I clear the gateway. Before journeying back to the apartments, though, I have another destination in mind. As blistering midday transitions gradually into a cool evening, and I cross the town on foot, I begin wondering if it's even worth the trouble. But I've made a commitment. And so, I suck in a deep breath and shove open the doors to the snake boot, to the sound of the long broken jukebox warbling out a weary blues tune a key too high. The worst, and singular, bar in wherever has very little in the way of amenities. Bad beer, bad music, bad pool table. No matter how many coasters you put under the legs, it's still lopsided. And bad company. But its trivia night, though still bad, is something every wherever citizen is obliged to experience at least once. As it happens, I've been putting it off for 5 years, and the welcoming committee, a quartet of burly ex-sawmillers with penchants for gift basket making, is finally cashing in on its belated initiation ritual, bonding exercise. I would need the guidance of the spirits, and the guidance of spirits, to ferry me through the night, as well as such trivia topics as famous movie gophers. How long have I been dead? Granaries of the 1850s, and Jeopardy. The last topic, as I learned, does not involve questions from the hit television program Jeopardy, but instead throws the recipient into an instance of mortal danger from which there is only one escape. More beer. You chug or your grave gets dug. An untraditional gauntlet, but the bar hounds request it weekly. To the Snake Boots' credit, no one's ever lost. Stumbling home with a slowly fermenting brain is not an advisable course of action. That is, of course, unless your heart is swollen with the drunkenness of trivia victory. Somehow, our team has emerged superior, and through the fog of genius, or the hops that has now replaced my blood, I locate and become one with my bed, and sleep the dream-laden sleep of champions. I've just scored a crater-in-one in lunar mini-golf, when a furious rapping at the door startles me awake, still partially in a boozy stupor, and I pull on one leg of a pair of jeans and fumble with the knob. The door hasn't budged a centimeter before a white blur of scales forces it the full way open and scampers past my feet. I whirl my head around blearily and spot Proplus, glaring up at me with what must be the reptilian equivalent of distrust. And I glare right back, with the universal human look for, please stop making loud noises. My head feels like a pinball machine. Can I help you? I say, in my best Tagalog. And he seems just about to snarl when Deputy Sheriff and my lower neighbor Beatrice rounds the corner, and, eyeing Proplus and I in what surely looks like the intense stare-down before a choreographed dance fight, breathes a sigh of relief.
That's where we gotten off to.
She leans against the door frame, arms folded.
Can't have this rascal disappearing, too.
Lucidity shines a waylight through my mind murk, and I ask, disappeared? Someone's disappeared? And Pamplemouse's skittish ferocity melts into soft whimpers. He throws me a pitiful look and sulks on past Beatrice, out of the room.
Pamplemousse came back last night. The clever thing already knows his way around wherever, but I've seen hide nor hair of his owner all day.
The landlord just hasn't come back?
Not from what I can see, no. Poor thing's worried to death.
Pamplemousse and I had last run into each other at Eno Fogarty's gallery of masterfully rendered statues, and I guess I was the last recognizable person he'd seen with his owner. Explains the suspicion. Are you going to put out an APB? I ask, wide-eyed. She chuckles and shakes her head.
It's a little early to file a missing persons, and with such a small town, there aren't many places he could be, but we'll be keeping an eye out.
She assures me that Pamplemousse is stocked up on food for a week at least, and the doggy door, lizard door, the landlord recently had installed gives him easy access to and from their room. But material sustenance alone cannot heal the pain of a missing compadre. It is already afternoon by the time Pamplemousse rouses me, a testament to wherever's local brewery. And at the sky's extremities, burnt oranges taper off into the darkening blue of a day retiring. Cicadas screech out a swan song for summer. The landlord's disappearance shakes me, admittedly. Seeing him yesterday was basically my last fully formed memory, so I go for a walk. Partially to clear my head, but mostly to gain a short reprieve from Pamplemousse's lonesome whines. My path leads, almost instinctively, in the exact opposite direction as the snake boot. A half hour of thought
Care for a spot while you wait?
10 sugars, if it's no trouble. If there aren't undissolved granules floating on top, you haven't added enough.
I'll be right back.
And she leaves me alone, in the dark, outside of the garage. I mean, she seriously didn't even invite me inside. Hospitality really is dead. A duet of coyote yowls bounds the forest canopies. Owls rustle the first yellowing leaves as they glide from branch to branch. And I've passed the time on one knee and playing with the exposed strip of tarp, suddenly keen to how much fun hiding beneath one of these things and frightening the molasses out of a few rubes could be. Apparently I don't know my own strength, though, because one enthusiastic tug too many unsticks its hold on the garage door, which, in incremental movements, lifts and swivels upward into its housing. The door may be manual, but the lights aren't, and they blink on, drowning the modest garage in yellow-white fluorescence. It is too pristine for any lived-in garage, the shelves that penetrate the wall opposite me barren and waiting eternally for a leaf blower or row of obsessively obtained tchotchkes. To the left is a door, presumably to the rest of the cabin, and to my right, lined up just as I'd seen them a day prior, the concealed statues, draped to their bases with the plastic navy blue sheets. Except, in this confined room, they're bunched, shoulder to shoulder, like too many siblings cramped in a back seat. As in the beginning of yesterday's display, there are once again 5 erect tarps. Though, in stark contrast to yesterday, I'm sure there is no famed artist underneath the 5th. In part because she's only a few rooms away, and also because this new edition boasts a frame mightier than any of her previous works. No doubt making the quarters even closer, the hunk of rock rests as the centerpiece of its brethren. Here I am, in the middle of Eno Fogarty's temporary storage room. I'd be in Regret City if I didn't indulge in a little sneak peek before tomorrow's show. Curiosity takes precedent over manners, and I take the tarp in both hands, raising it from the bottom and then folding it back over the head, giving the statue a polyester veil and cloak. The astonishment that washed over the crowd just a day ago is rekindling here, now, as I look up at the stunningly accurate recreation of my landlord. And if I'm not mistaken, that same sense of astonishment is reflected in his eyes, marble though they may be. As in a trance, my index finger is moments away from poking the sculpture's incredibly pinchable-looking cheeks when a thunderous crash and the distinct sound of porcelain smashing against hardwood fill my ears. I whip around to face the source of the calamity, looking down to the metal tray and china shards and spilled liquid mingling together, and then up, slowly, to face Eno, standing frozen in the garage doorway, her arms still extended, absent of the fallen tray. She is expressionless, the polite smile from earlier extinct. There is a vacancy behind the eyes, but no neon sign. Lowering her arms like slot machine cranks to her side, she begins to step closer, never once breaking eye contact. Bits of shattered teacups crunch against and slice into her feet as she crosses the wreckage, trailing a brown and bright red watercolor mixture of tea and blood in her wake. When she is a foot away, she halts her processional advance, and sporting that same blank stare, says, "Oh, I wish you hadn't seen that." Why? I implore. It's so good, and even more realistic up close. I can't believe you managed to get it done so quickly. They really were right about you. Eccentric, sure, but a real talent. As I heap praise upon her, a little distracted by the impossible detail of the landlord's worried brow, the varicose veins beneath his cargo shorts, even his tote, sans tegu, I'm completely oblivious to the hand Ino reaches up to her head wrap. I glance her way for a second during a pause in my stream of compliments and notice something amiss. Somewhere between meeting Ino tonight and the ongoing scenario, she'd transferred a bit of her rose-red lipstick to her Cupid's bow. Remembering the lost compact from the fairgrounds, I remove it from my pocket to let Ino have a look. Hey, you've got a little something. In tandem, I flip open the little mirror, and Ino, in one deft motion, tears away her long patterned scarf. I'd ignored it earlier, attributed it to the buzzing of cicadas echoing from deeper in the forest, but now, unabated by layers of wound fabric, the true nature of the sound becomes clear. It's hissing. Not just the hissing of one creature, but several, in close proximity, just in Fang's reach, if my ear's estimation is correct. I catch only small glimpses of the slithering mass, obfuscated at one instant by the technicolor of Ino's scarf, and at the next by a gray rigidity spreading from follicle to serpent's head. Fogarty sends up a shriek that is swiftly muted as stone entombs her larynx, seeps through skin, creeps like moss over her throat and wrists and the tattered soles of her feet. Ino Fogarty, renowned sculptor, stands before me, crafted in human truth, albeit very little human or true about her. And then, Ino Fogarty, renowned paperweight, begins to tip backwards. Motor reflex activates with more expedience than thought, and before I know it, I flung out my arms and caught the marble Ino around the small of its marble back. Until, that is, a tap at my shoulder sends my hands skyward in a start, and sends marble Ino slipping from my grasp into that now stained hard wood, where she explodes into marble chunks and marble clouds. Whoopsie, says a voice from behind me. The landlord, now very much a meat man, sidesteps the pieces of sculptor, the porcelain fragments, the puddles of muddy liquid, and looks about the garage as if for the first time. Oopsie, indeed, I agree. It takes a while, but one by one the statues regain consciousness, and, like the landlord, retain virtually no memory of the ordeal, each just a little bewildered as to how he ended up so far from his respective, normal little town. I blame the wherever beer, jokingly, but they all pretty much accept it as an explanation. The fairgrounds are a somber affair the following afternoon, with no attraction and no sign of its creator. Heads nod gravely, though smugly, with "I told you so's," and "Can't trust those creative types as far as you can throw them." I think they'd find throwing Ino quite an easy task in her current state. Pomplamoose, for his part, no longer enjoys sculpting, and has instead taken up an interest in abstract modern art. All in all, not the weirdest rock show I've ever been to, but What's one to expect when the tickets are free and admission is open to anyone willing to spend the rest of their days as cold, unfeeling earth? A fair trade-off, I'd say. Good art is so hard to come by these days. But what am I telling you for? I'm sure you've met artists in towns just like this one. It's all the same. Here, there, wherever. Ethan sees it all. Hi, welcome to episode 5 of Ethan Sees All. Sit back, relax, and if you feel a slight stinging sensation, don't worry. It'll only get worse. Enjoy! From the monarchy of the ever-moving, ever-humming beehive to the predatorial camaraderie of the gray wolf pack, hierarchy, in some form or another, reaches far and wide across the animal kingdom, and the human animal is no exception. One guy at the reins barking orders, the rest below in highly structured and encouraged mediocrity, breaking their backs to provide for the king high atop his pedestal, or emperor, or czar, or overbearing step-parent. One way we attempt to curb this upward funneling of power is through election. That representative of the everyman, martyr to his people, the head honcho, should be subject to rigorous vetting. So we hold rallies, canvass until our feet callous over, and pit our hand-selected candidates against each other in an iron cage match to the death. They bludgeon each other to bloody pulps with promises and condemnations, and we scream with glee because we, the forgotten masses, have done our civic duty. That's the way it should be. That's the ideal. And so, in exercising that constitutional right, we, the citizens of wherever, have gathered outside of Town Hall for what, up until a week ago, had been touted as a debate. Though, as the time to vote came ever closer, it became apparent one man would be running on a ticket all to himself. No embittered rival means no back and forth, though for the sitting mayor, the show must go on. For the event, because seating the populace in an unair-conditioned meeting hall without windows is a recipe for disaster, there's a collapsible stage, a very familiar one, I might add, set up on the grassy knoll before the cupola-crested building, and at either end are sturdy-looking maple podiums. There isn't a cloud in the sky, and the unhindered sunlight bounces off of every surface, giving the whole affair a dream-like shimmer. Too bright, too wonderful. The band, situated behind several rows of metallic fold-out chairs, plays patriotic overtures. As Mayor Aubergine mounts the dais' low ledge, takes his place at the left soapbox, and raises his arms stoically above his head, every soul within scope of his view takes on a deathly quiet. My fierce whispering debate with my neighbor Domino concerning the exact decibel level at which a guitar wail can rupture a person's eardrums is promptly extinguished. A figurehead of immovable might, the mayor's control over the townsfolk precedes even his first utterance, which is this: "Howdy, y'all!" And the audience goes absolutely bonkers. At least one man in the back row faints, bringing down with him a third of the brass section, the tuba blurting wildly in its descent. "Ain't it just a beautiful day here and wherever?" And everyone cheers their agreement. His deep brown curls tousle lightly each time he speaks. He has a smile so affable and recognizable, it's the focal point of his every poster and billboard. "If our moderator would be so kind as to begin," says Aubergine, directing his gaze upward, and our heads all swivel to the right, following his, to the silver flagpole, up, 20 feet up, to where there would typically be a waving symbol of pride. Instead, at its peak rests a wire mesh cage. Inside the cage, as can hardly be seen from its lofty position, come faint clucks, and the clink, clink, clink of metal being pecked. One can just make out a cup of millet and an upsized hamster water bottle. The rooster, likely self-conscious from the horde of strangers glaring at him in his private abode, lets out a strangled "Baa!" and trots around until he can no longer see the peeping toms, sitting with a huff and a ruffle of feathers. "Ah, a fine question, Mr. Abernathy," says Mayor Aubergine with a sly grin. "Would I ever turn my back on the folks of wherever? Now, I know my opponent," he says, and gestures to the empty podium beside him. "Would have you believe I don't care about the common man, about the people who carry this town on their shoulders. But I'll have you know, that's a crock of bull spittle. Pardon my French," chuckles from the audience. He grips the sides of the lectern and looks out intently over his public. "When the dam broke and flooded the lowlands, who decided to use the excess water for crop irrigation?" "You!" they respond with gusto, a well-trained congregation. "When that salmonella outbreak put half the town out of commission, who used town hall as an emergency medical wing for the affected?" "You!" "And when it comes time to submit your ballot next week, who'll be the person you trust to keep wherever the shining star you know and love? Me?" And he points back over to no one, who, humiliatingly, says nothing. "Or this shy guy?" "You!" Aubergine closes his eyes for a moment, then opens them wide, as if taking in the day for the first time, and sighs happily. He walks from behind the rostrum and to the stage's forefront, and, looking seemingly into every individual pair of eyes, says, "Thank y'all for coming out this morning and giving this old mayor just a little of your time. Until we meet again, if it ain't broke," he begins, cupping a hand to his ear and leaning out over the hopeful townsfolk. In uproarious shouts, they call back, "Why fix it?" Applause and yells and overwhelmed sobs turn the audience into an ocean of discordant sound. And it stays that way for 5 minutes. During the conclusion of Aubergine's speech and the crowd's subsequent dismissal, I'm struck by my dearth of knowledge on just how the town came to be. Wherever, save for the pop-up ventures that inevitably fall to ruin in her stead, changes no more than do the seasons year to year, predictable, unalterable. Luckily, CD's Please is closed for the observation of Boss's religious holiday. I don't want to be there, Adon. And I've got plenty of time to check out the archives, to get a glimpse into the town's past. I head to the canary-stained library on a hill for a book about the history of wherever. The librarians, for however much they harped on the impotency of my life's essence, are sure smacking their lips loudly when they ask if I'll be checking the book out. "No thanks. I'll read it here," I say, retrieving the thick, dust-grayed tome. And why wouldn't I? Bloodthirsty harpies aside, the library is as relaxing and apt a place for reading as anywhere else in this quiet province. And perhaps more so, because in the afternoon light, a patchwork of incredible pastels pour in through the stained glass windows overhead, illuminating the whole of the room like a crystal cove. The search for anything remotely interesting is slow going. I reread the first page's minuscule print 3 times. On the third, I finally realize the F's are S's and groan. But then, a ways in, something pops out to me. Between the entries for the first great furniture burning and how cows became preeminent midwives, there is an eerily familiar photograph, taken out on the sweeping steps leading from the town hall I'd departed just earlier, though less in disrepair. And in the picture, curiously familiar figures. Their clothing and hair have changed with the passing century's styles, but it's unmistakable. There stands the mayor, his aide, the treasurer, and each of his advisors, unchanged by age or the passage of time. I look down to the caption, June 1805, Mayor Aubergine and public officials, the momentous unveiling of wherever town hall. I'm not quite sure what to do with this information. It's possible they're just direct descendants, right? All of them? It is a small town, after all. Shallow, haggard breathing alerts me to Magda, hovering nearby, making no effort to disguise her presence.
You sure you don't want to take that home with you, dearie?
I'm okay.
A second's all it would take. Just the tiniest droplet of...
Yeah. Blood. That's all it ever is with you guys. You know, I have great plasma, too. I speed read through line upon dry line of painstakingly detailed town meeting minutes and outdated laws. One, in particular, a mandate prohibiting men from inverting the age-old horse and buggy relationship by leading their carriages, bridles strapped tightly around heads and bits firmly between teeth, regardless of how natural a coachman the horse may or may not be. And I nearly flip right by it in my hasty scan. The page dedicated to a double-sided column of names and dates, a log of wherever's past mayoral elections, divided into term years and competing candidates. Only, where there should have been two names, there was only one in each bracket. Francis Aubergine. And beside every iteration, the same note, runs unopposed. My eyes race down the years, the decades. Runs unopposed. Single opponent mauled beyond recognition by Bobcat. Runs unopposed. This reads less like a political record and more like the recounting of a briefly Bobcat-interrupted stroll through the park. The reactionary mind concocts only few dire circumstances to account for a public figure free of adversaries, not the least of which involves a worn skiff, a lake floor heavy with decomposition, and a booming market for cinder blocks. After every few years, there'd be a small picture showing the mayor, never aging a day, shaking hands and smiling that megawatt smile at different swearings in. This was no dynasty. Now, defying the preordained laws of longevity is one thing, but underhanded political maneuvers are another entirely. Trustworthy government is supposed to be a defining characteristic of the uncomplicated American burg. Why, just a couple towns over, they have a golden retriever for a mayor. You don't get much more trustworthy than that. If I'm going to get to the bottom of this potential scandal, I'll need to do a bit of investigative journalism. And that means going undercover. My landlord, after some hesitation and a lengthy breakdown on the maintenance of feather stiffness, lends me his dome-topped bowler. Turquoise, with a psychedelic paisley print around its band. Very subtle. With some assistance from a stepladder, he lowers it, with the delicacy of a Fabergé egg atop my hair. He climbs down, walks back around me, and gets a good eyeful, but shakes his head after a few moments of consideration. Close, but I can still tell it's you. I sit on the stepladder, chin resting on knuckles, and contemplate, "Oh!" I exclaim, and run over to my chestnut armoire and the set of drawers beneath its magnetically sealed doors. In the right drawer, jammed between a decade's worth of old birthday cards bound in rubber bands and a translation dictionary for the language without words, I locate and retrieve a satin cloth sack. From the small burgundy bag, I pull a pair of dark-tinted, ovoid sunglasses to replace my current lenses, functional and clear. Beatrice bought me these as a gag a couple years back. I tell the landlord, who doesn't ask, but I figure he'll appreciate the backstory. Once they're properly and snugly secured to my face, I turn to the mirror, which is an indecipherable smudge, and then to the landlord, who says, brightly, "Foolproof!" If only we had a fool to test it on. Domino passes my room in that instant, peering in and cocking his head at an angle when he spots my clown hat and oblong cop shades. He says to the landlord, "Brah! Who's your new friend?" Perfect. My plan to lure the mayor into a huge exposé is elementary. I stand outside town hall, notebook in tow, expression ponderous, and I pretend to not be someone attempting to lure the mayor into a huge exposé. Combined with a steady, neurotic pacing up and down the fanning staircase, and I'm the approximation of your average browbeaten news slinger. In a world where coffee, on you, hadn't closed amidst allegations of intentional scaldings, a jittering hand of Java would take the look to unforetold heights. But imagine a man brewing his own cup of coffee. Just imagine it. You can't. I digress. My, and I'm not bragging here, ascendant performance surmounts the lack of caffeine. Some critics would go on to say, breaking all convention for what it means to impersonate a starving reporter. 20 minutes into my show of nervously flitting about, like a hummingbird on the hunt for sugar, a petite mayor's aide exits the pointed building and shuffles down the steps toward me. She looks to be in her mid-20s, but her demeanor exudes the deep-seated exhaustion of someone with considerable governmental experience. Several hundred years of it. I think I recognize her from the grainy photo. You can sense traces of an old optimism buried beneath the gravel of a long life's harsh practicalities. I spent the walk over rehearsing again and again a believable lie to gain private counsel with the big cheese. But right before I can regale her with the story of how I came upon Aubergine's great-great-great-uncle's last will and testament, stored in a metal lockbox and hidden in a storm drain, she shoves a clipboard into my face and says,
"You're early. The appointment wasn't set to begin for another half hour."
She seems to want me to see something. Taking the clipboard, I hold it at arm's length, squinting my eyes in an effort to focus them. A lot of good that does. The white binder gripped tightly in her other arm holds her attention fast. Just in case someone were, let's say, legally blind, what would you tell them is printed here? I ask, maintaining a grizzled nonchalance. Not averting her gaze, she says blankly,
"Prepared questions for your one-on-one interview with the mayor, of course."
Jackpot!
His schedule is clear for the day's remainder, and he can push you up if it's no trouble.
Oh, no trouble at all, I say. And she leads me into a freshly waxed entry hallway, checkered with mustard and black tiles. Phony plastic ferns act as gateposts at either side of the doorframe. We continue straight for a good while, exchanging as few words as two people walking in unison comfortably can, passing empty conference rooms, offices for departments of agriculture and commerce and ice fishing, turning left only once and then resuming a forward march. The further we go, the less I can remember what the world outside of these maddeningly inoffensive dull yellow walls looks like. The air hangs, stale, with the pervasive smell of bureaucracy. In the incessant repetition, I momentarily forget why I've come. And in an autopiloted gait, imagine I'm being trafficked along an assembly line to a station where I'll be broken down into my base components and reconfigured into one of those nifty 4-slot toasters. But at the end of the long corridor, she comes to an abrupt halt. For the first time since we've met, the aide cuts away from her binder of margin-defying graphs and polls and looks me over, eyes slowing as they reach my bowler, straight from a hippie's garage sale, and says, "You're underdressed," in that same monotone. She knocks at the frosted window of the door in front of which we've stopped, the words Mayor Aubergine's office embossed in gold font beneath her tapping fist. "Come in," bellows that same commandingly approachable voice from this morning, though now I'm wondering just how much of it is fabricated. The aide pulls the door open, and after allowing me entrance, closes it back shut behind us. Walking into the mayor's office is like being transported to a different universe, one far and away from the rest of the stuffy, poorly lit building. Knickknacks clutter his desk, no thread of commonality between any of them, each from a markedly different era than the one next to it. A glass dolphin, a model of a carousel, 2 drinking birds, facing one another, timed to fall and rise together, and an assortment of other whimsical toys and doodads you'd expect to find in your grandmother's parlor. To offset the geriatric tone of his copious baubles, or perhaps just because he likes westerns, garish. Play it cool, Ethan. You've made it this far. All you've got to do now is ease him into his own undoing. Don't play all your cards at once. Be glacial. Okay, let's begin with the basics here. What's your name? I like where this is headed already. Francis Aubergine. All right, good. I begin to scratch angry squiggles across my notebook. How would you say your platform is different this time around? It isn't, he says cheerily. Good old-fashioned values are what I'm selling, and I hope it's what the citizens of wherever are buying. I see. I nod reassuringly and look down at the notebook in my lap, black with jagged pen marks. So, I start, and fiddle with my sunglasses. In 1856, when you ran against Chet Hitchwell, and he mysteriously disappeared after a trip into the mountains, what did you eat at your victory dinner? Halibut! Aha! I leap from my chair and point the accusatory finger of justice. Sir! The aide admonishes from her corner. Hey, that wasn't a prepared question, was it? It was not, but as we say in the world of journalism, no takesies backsies. And I slam closed the notebook. By tomorrow morning, everyone in town will know exactly who you really are. You can't run a story about my staff's immortality. And he's also propelled to his feet. It'll be catastrophic if people ever find out we're really cursed European immigrants who fled from a witch and hid away in what was then a colony, blended in with the settlers, and eventually became elected officials. What? Who cares? There's an immortal jellyfish. I could literally visit the aquarium and see a blob that never dies. No, you've been having your competition whacked every 4 years so you can keep the mayorship all to yourself. And the room goes silent. Not so much with a damning silence as I'd expected, more one of bafflement. And then of gradual understanding. And then the silence is broken by Aubergine's big, booming laugh. Oh, you thought I... Oh. He slaps his knee and doubles over, an eggplant purple spreading across his face. He wipes away a tear. Oh, man, that's a good one. But I couldn't hurt a fly. Believe me, there's been one here bugging me all day. Oh, really? Then why have you gone largely unopposed in elections stretching back centuries?
Girl.
Because no one wants to be mayor. Before we got here, the position belonged to a chipmunk named Gabe. But he was quickly ousted after it was clear which of us could store the most nuts in his cheeks. Yours truly. Since then, everyone's been more or less all right with me in charge. Well, what about Hitchwell? No one ever heard from him again, I urge. Old Chit didn't disappear. Everyone knew he'd found happiness living in a cave with his husband Sassy, so we just let him be, says the mayor, a matter-of-factness about his voice. I'm dumbfounded. My journalistic integrity besmirched. What would the other writers at the Wherever Gazette think of me now? I could never show my face around the water cooler again. I'd be a laughingstock. Oh, wait. As I'm remembering I work for a CD retailer, a heavy hand falls on my shoulder, accompanied by that affected drawl. It's a reasonable mix-up. He retracts his hand and sits back in the chair, grinning, but a kind grin. I don't want to tell you how to live your unending life, but being a mayor forever seems like an odd use of immortality, I say. If I may be so candid with you, this job ain't all it's cracked up to be. The appearances, the constant smiling, the handshaking. Oh God, people in this town never wash their hands. But if I don't do it, who else will?
Me. Me!
Both the voice and the emotion behind it startle me, as well as the mayor, apparently, who looks to his aide, eyebrow raised.
Who designs and prints your posters? She continues. Who helps you devise policy? Who organizes and fundraises and pores over every detail of this town, night and day?
You?
Me. But no one even knows who I am.
Aw, heck, Emma. I didn't know you felt that way. You'd make a great mayor. At this, Emma's frustration melts away in waves. Aubergine's brows furrow as he taps his clefted chin in thought. And then, wide-eyed and index finger jabbed upward, announces, "Next election, how's about you run, and I'll head your campaign."
What? You serious?
Course. It'll be the first vacation I've gotten in a millennium. The look of someone figuring out a prospective golf itinerary crosses his face. I can't make posters half as well as you, but I sure as heck know how to gather supporters.
I don't know what to say,
stutters Emma, the aide, now flipping hectically through her binder, not to any page in particular. Try this out for size. Mayor Bladderburst, he says, throwing his hands up as if they held confetti, a smile overtaking his face. Your last name is Bladderburst?
Bladderburst, actually. It's Romanian. I have so much planning to do, so many charts to graph, so many graphs to chart.
Her page flipping intensifies, and that old optimism pierces through the shroud as a lightning bolt through the heavens. A man I pass on the way out of the building, wearing a strikingly similar hat, tips it as he jogs up the steps and into town hall. That should be an interesting interview. And the next race to the proverbial crown should be an interesting one as well. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe wherever can change. And maybe that's not such a bad thing. It is, however, recommended that you air out your public servants every eon or so. Just because they don't adhere to the established tenets of life and death doesn't mean they don't collect dust. But what am I telling you for? I'm sure you vote for politicians in towns just like this one. It's all the same. Here, there, wherever. This episode sponsored by Coffee on You. Romance can be boilerplate, the little ruts we all go through. But if you stand me up on our date, then it's coffee on you.
Like a girl, and he got 5 stories to tell. I see.
Ma'am?
Both sides like Chanel. See on both sides like Chanel. Swimming laps through pool water. Eating like I'm underworld. Had my tattoos in Shibuya. Police think I'm of the underworld. 12 treat a nigga like he 12. How you looking up to me and talking down? Can't you see I am the big man? God level, I am the I am. Now film it with the drone cam and the pink like Killer Kim. Zoom on that stick, no way. Up so close, I'm on that kill. Controller on your lower back, yeah, that's the good. Dick roll the eyes back in the skull. Rollin' when you ride, poppin'. Rollin' when you ride the ride. Got one, straight actin', turned up like some dirty plastic. 2016 brought some discs. 2017 ideas playing off the Walgreens. This a cult, not a click on the net. With a cup, in a cup, activist. That's a double edge, it's a knife. And I don't like to fight till I'm fighting. Revenge in the air makes my lungs sick. Chopper in the sky like a gun trick. Clips on clips like Mike. It's really all. See both sides like Chanel. See on both sides like Chanel. It's really you on my mind. It's really you on my mind. It's really you. It's really you on my mind. Steam both sides of the 12. Steam both sides of the L. Free smoke rings in they hell. Sleet snow grind for the well. Whole team diamonds is real. Show them how to shine by themselves. You need a cosign for your help. I need that bitch to grind on my belt. I know you need to drive for my belt. I know you seen it drive in itself. No matte black on the ride cause it's stale. But it's stale. I see both sides like Chanel. I see both sides like Chanel. My pocket's snug. They can't hold my 7. They ban my Visa. My Amex and MasterCards. I got new money and it's all cash. I got new bags and they all collapse. I rubber band a bunch of $1,000 Delta gift cards. I mean my baby boy, amazing the cash online unknown. I mean my baby boy, plays in the dash, count money at home. My pocket's snug, they can't hold my 7. They ban my Visa, my Amex and MasterCards. I got new money money, and it's all cash. I got new bags, and they all collapse. I rubber band a bunch of $1,000 Delta gift cards. I mean my baby boy, amazing the cash online unknown. I mean my baby boy, blazing the dash, count money at home.
A staggering 72% of remaining smokers come from lower-income communities, and they're hit the hardest by Big Tobacco's tactics.
Big Tobacco designed cigarettes to be more addictive by genetically engineering the tobacco itself.
And it's ravaging struggling America.
They should be ashamed of themselves. It has to stop.
Oh, they don't care. They don't care about us.
You know this is wrong.
We need to stop Big Tobacco. Know the truth, spread the truth. Enlist at thetruth.com.
I got the baddest bitch. Hey! Shawty keep hollering at me. Told her I'm a young OG from the west and I'm repping up the 503.
I ain't no average bitch.
True.
Baby, come swing my way.
Yeah.
I'ma put you on this game. Get it all gas, no brakes.
Just for you, I might jeopardize my whole life, I might sacrifice. Way you look, it's like whoa, whoa. Got me locked and I'm hypnotized. Shakira like and these hips don't lie. Say I don't, but I always try. Way you look, it's like whoa,
Whoa.
got me locked and I'm hypnotized. You got so much potential. Every moment spent with you, I bet was always eventful. I've never seen your type of species. Give me heebie-jeebies, added to Khaleesi. Oh, and like whoa.
Don't you know you're something else? Don't you know that there's no one else? Must I remind you, a real one's behind you. Don't look, I'm gonna find you. So just for you, I might jeopardize my whole life, I might sacrifice. Baby, got me like whoa, hypnotize, I'm like whoa. Shakira like and these hips don't lie. Say I don't, but I always try. Cause baby, you looking like whoa, whoa, whoa.
You got so much potential. Every moment spent with you, I bet was always eventful. I've never seen your type of species. Give me heebie-jeebies, added to Khaleesi. Till my time now, start to see signs. In too deep, now I can't rewind. Little mama, she gon' work out. When she do the bow flex, then we have more sex. Sweat dripping, now I wanna kick it. Cheated on you with some dumb bum bitches. Your mama wouldn't be too proud. Girl, we in public, don't be too loud. Sugar, pie, I mean it never tell no lies. Love and lust is just both of us. I'd rather talk to you to get by. I don't really play no games, unless it's with my friends and we playing 2K. Baby, I'm on one. I'm here for the long run with you. You got so much potential. Every moment spent with you, I bet was always eventful. I've never seen your type of species. Give me heebie-jeebies, added to Khaleesi. And I'm like, whoa, you got so much potential. Every moment spent with you, I bet was always eventful. I've never seen your type of species. Give me heebie-jeebies, added to Khaleesi. And I'm like, whoa.
like I like my honey. Sweet, little selfish. I like my women like I like my money. Green, little jealous. 'Cause I'm a beautiful wreck, a colorful mess, but I'm funny. Oh, I'm a heartbreak vet with a stone cold neck, yeah, I'm charming. All the pretty girls in the world, but I'm in this space with you. Call it out the lines, they can't define. My fire was fade with you. Heart it will stay with you. Fly great escapes with you. I count down to the clock, say awake. Don't walk away, or would you wait for me? I go out to the bar, fuck hanging with the stars. Don't even have a car, but you will wait for me. Oh, the pretty girls in the world, but I'm in this space with you. Cut it out the lines, they can't define. My fire was fake with you. My heart, it will stay with you. Escape with you. I like my girls just like I like my honey. Sweet, a little selfish. I like my women like I like my money. Green, a little jealous. Oh, I'm a beautiful wreck, a colorful mess, but I'm funny. Oh, I'm a heartbreak vet with a stone cold neck, I'm so charming. Oh, la 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 la. Ooh, yeah. Is it love? All we need is love. The Beatles said prophecy is love. Do re mi fa sol la ti is love.
Hey, indie musicians, if you want to get your music heard and sold worldwide on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, and over 150 digital music stores, you need TuneCore Music Distribution. TuneCore has been in business for over 10 years and has helped over 250,000 artists sell their music worldwide. With TuneCore, you keep 100% of your music sales revenue and 100% of your music rights. Now is the time to get your music heard. Create a free TuneCore account today at tunecore.com.
Too many bottles of this wine we can't pronounce. Too many bowls of that green, no Lucky Charms. The maids come around too much. Parents ain't around enough. Too many joy rides in Daddy's Jaguar. Too many white lies and white lines. Super rich kids with nothing but loose ends. Super rich kids with nothing but fake friends. Start my day up on the roof. There's nothing like this type of view. Point the clicker at the tube. I prefer expensive news. New car, new girl, new ice, new glass, new watch, good times, babe. It's good times, yeah. She wash my back 3 times a day. This shower head feels so amazing. We'll both be high. The help don't stare. They just walk by. They they must don't care. 1,000,001, 1,000,002. 100 more will never do. Too many bottles of this wine we can't pronounce. Too many bowls of that green, no Lucky Charms. The maids come around too much. Parents ain't around enough. Too many joy rides in Daddy's Jaguar. Too many white lies and white lines. Super rich kids with nothing but loose ends. Super rich kids with nothing but fake friends. Real love, I'm searching for a real love. A real love. I'm searching for a real love. Oh, real love.
Alright. Close your eyes to what you can't imagine. We are the Zanny Nash and Caddy smashing, bratty assy, Maddie snatched his daddy's jag and used this shit for batting practice. Adam and Annie thrashing, purchasing crappy grams with half the hand of cash you handed. Panic and patch me up, Pappy done latchkeyed us, toying with raggy hands and Mammy done had enough. Brash as fuck, breaching all these aqueducts. Don't believe us, treat us like we can't erupt. Yeah.
We end our day up on the roof. I say I'll jump, I never do. But when I'm drunk, I act a fool. Talking about, do they sew wings until it soothes? I'm on that ledge. She grabs my arm, she slaps my hair. 'Cause good times, yeah. Sleep from summer, slipper fall. The market's down like 60 stories, and some don't end the way they should. My silver spoon has fed me good. 1,000,001, 1,000,000 cash. Close my eyes and feel the crash. Too many bottles of this wine we can't pronounce. Too many bowls of that green, no Lucky Charms. The maids come around too much. Parents ain't around enough. Too many joy rides in Daddy's Jaguar. Too many white lies and white lines. Super rich kids with nothing but loose ends. Super rich kids with nothing but fake friends. Real love, ain't that something rare? I'm searching for real love.
The fantastic production.
I'm going away for a while, but I'll be back, don't try pacify a broken heart's twisted mind, so I can find someone to rely on and run to them, full speed ahead. Oh, you are not useless. We are just misguided ghosts, traveling endlessly. The ones we trusted the most pushed us far away, and there's no one road, and we should not be the same. But I'm just a ghost, and still they echo me. They echo me in circles.
Hey, indie musicians, if you want to get your music heard and sold worldwide on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, and over 150 digital music stores, you need TuneCore Music Distribution.
TuneCore has been in business for over 10 years and has helped over 250,000 artists sell their music worldwide. With TuneCore, you keep 100% of your music sales revenue and 100% of your music rights. Now is the time to get your music heard. Create a free TuneCore account today at tunecore.com.
Ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da-ba-da. My boy's being sus. He was shady enough, but now he's just a shadow. My boy loves his friends like I love my split ends, and by that I mean he cuts them off. What? My boy, my boy, my boy don't love me like he promised. My boy, my boy, my boy, he ain't a man, sure as hell ain't honest. My boy's being sus, and he don't know how to cuss. He just sounds like he's trying to be his father. Who are you? My boy's an ugly crier, but he's such a pretty liar. And by that I mean he said he changed. My boy, my boy, my boy don't love me like he promised. My boy, my boy, my boy, he ain't a man, sure as hell ain't honest. My boy, my boy, my boy, I love that. I love that boy's presence. My boy, my boy, my boy, my boy.
Alright, dude. Go trip over a knife.
My boy, my boy, my boy don't love me like he promised. My boy, my boy, he ain't a man, sure as hell ain't honest. You want me to be yours, well then you got to be mine. And if you want a good girl, then goodbye. You want me to be yours, well then you gotta be mine. And if you want a good girl, then goodbye.
Listen, man, I heard you done got you a dime, piece, man.
Hell no, man.
One of them
Nigga
Beyonce
lying,
making
bro.
good types, man.
Nah.
Is that true, man? I just want to know. I mean, shit. To be honest with you, man, she's a
bad thing. Fine as hell. Thick as fuck. Oh my God. That's my baby. Caroline, you divine. Mighty fine. Shorty really blow the pipe. That's true. Like a pro.
Fuck you, dog.
Holy shit, I'm really lit. It's looking like it's about time to fuck it up. Caroline, listen up. Don't wanna hear about your horoscope or what the future holds. Shut up and let's get gory. Like a Tarantino movie. Don't wanna talk it out, can we fuck it out? Cause we gon' be up all night, fuck a decaf. You say I'm a tall thug, guess I'm a G-Rap. If you want safe sex, baby, use the knee pad. Freaky with the sticky icky, baby, give me kitty. Killer, west side nigga. Boy, you like 98 degrees and I'm 300, nigga, keep your feet running. I keep when I eat these beats, better boy, get scarred. Don't run up in my lane, I don't want you in my lane, you a lame, get swerved. Cause great scenes might be great, but I love your bloopers. And perfects for the urgent, baby, I want forever. And Caroline, don't you see that? I want you to be mine. Bad things, fine as hell, thick as fuck, oh my God. That's my baby, Caroline, you divine. Mighty fine, shorty really blow the pipe. Like a pro. What? Holy shit, I'm really lit. It's looking like it's about time to fuck it up. Caroline, listen up. Don't wanna hear about your horoscope or what the future holds. Shut up and let's get gory. Like a Tarantino movie. Don't wanna talk it out, can we fuck it out? Cause we gon' be up all night, fuck a decaf. You say I'm a tall thug, guess I'm a G-Rap. If you want safe sex, baby, use the knee pad. Freaky with the sticky icky, baby, give me kitty. Killer, west side nigga. Boy, you like 98 degrees and I'm 300, nigga, keep your feet running. I keep when I eat these beats, better boy, get scarred. Don't run up in my lane, I don't want you in my lane, you a lame, get swerved. Cause great scenes might be great, but I love your bloopers. And perfects for the urgent, baby, I want forever. And Caroline, don't you see that? I want you to be mine. Bad thing,
You always have your head down. Your hair falls around your face like a curtain. You're always wondering if the clouds above will ever stop their wrongdoings. You've got a quiet room. Yeah, I always thought it must have been bad timing, but if you were fine, then why do I always find you crying? I see right through you. 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 And on the silent days, you let your strings slowly start to fray. Your mind tends to float away, and then you're blinded by the things you wish you'd never seen, and then your pleasures stay. What about all the things you overcomplicate? But to you that's okay, 'cause you're a girl that has been I just can't watch you fall anymore, anymore, anymore. I see right through ya. 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 Oh.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Mitch on the mic, and we've got Yogi Master Katie in the studio answering your questions.
Hello, everyone.
All right, we have the first caller. Here's Ryan from Georgia.
Welcome, Ryan. What can I help you with today?
Hi, Katie. What steps should I take to maintain my zen while applying for my first mortgage?
Mortgage?
I'm gonna need to meditate on that one.
Go to a yoga master to perfect your downward dog. Go to Making Sense from Navy Federal to perfect your mortgage plan. Stretch your financial knowledge at NavyFederal.org/Making Sense. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
I'm jealous, I'm overzealous. When I'm down, I get real down. When I'm high, I don't come down. I get angry, baby, believe me. I can love you just like that, and I can leave you just as fast. But you don't judge me, 'cause if you did, baby, I'd judge you too. No, you don't judge me, 'cause if you did, baby, I'd judge you too. 'Cause I got issues, but you got them too. So give them all to me, and I'll give mine to you. Bask in the glory of our problems, 'cause we got the kind of love it takes to suffer. Yeah, I got issues, and one of them is how bad I need you. You do shit on purpose. You get mad and you break things. Feel bad, try to fix things, but you're perfect. Poorly wired circuit, and got hands like an ocean. Push you out, pull you back in. 'Cause you don't judge me, 'cause if you did, baby, I'd judge you too. No, you don't judge me, 'cause you see it from the same point of view. 'Cause I got issues, but you got them too. So give them all to me, and I'll give mine to you. Bask in the glory of our problems, 'cause we got the kind of love it takes to suffer. Yeah, I got issues, and one of them is how bad I need you. I got issues, you got them too. And one of them is how bad I need you. I got issues, you got them too. 'Cause I got issues, but you got them too. So give them all to me, and I'll give mine to you. Bask in the glory of our problems, 'cause we got the kind of love it takes to suffer. Yeah, I got issues, and one of them is how bad I need you. Yeah, I got issues, and one of them is how bad I need you. Yeah, I got issues, and one of them is how bad I need you.
Through drought and famine, natural disasters, my baby has been around for me. Kingdoms have fallen. angels be calling. None of that could ever make me leave, yeah. Every time I look into your eyes, I see it. You're all I need. Every time I get a bit inside, I feel it. Who would have thought I'd get you? Who would have thought I'd get you? And when we're making love, your cries that can be heard from far and wide. It's only the two of us. Everything I need between those thighs. Every time I look into your eyes, I see it. You're all I need. Every time I get a bit inside, I feel it. Who would have thought I'd get you? Oh yeah, baby. Who would have thought I'd get you?
And I'll take some time just to be thankful that I had days full of you, before it winds down into the memories. It's all just memories now.
If you got someone like, don't you love when I come around? Somebody just tell you up, then I take you down. Got someone like, don't you love when I come around? Somebody just tell you up, then I take. Who would have thought I'd get you? Oh yeah, baby. Who would have thought I'd get you?
This feels like summer, but you make me feel so alive. Just be my lover, but you lead me to paradise.
Through drought and famine, natural disasters, my baby has been around for me. Kingdoms are falling, angels be calling. None of that could ever make me leave, yeah. Every time I look into your eyes, I see it. You're all I need. into your eyes, I see it. You're all I need. Every time I get a bit inside, I feel it. Ooh, who would have thought I'd get you? Oh yeah, baby. Ooh, who would have thought I'd get you?
And I'll take some time just to be thankful that I had days full of you. Before it winds down into the memories, it's all just memories now.
If you got someone like, don't you love when I come around? Somebody just tell you up, then I take you down. Got someone like, don't you love when I come around? Somebody just tell you up, then I take. Ooh, who would have thought I'd get you? Oh yeah, baby. Ooh, who would have thought I'd get you?
This feels like summer, but you make me feel so alive. Just be my lover, but you lead me to paradise.
You've waited long enough. Now the moment is finally here. Grammy Award-winning Childish Gambino live in concert. Live across North America with special guest Ray Shremmerd. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Childish Gambino live. Yeah. Be there.
Send me your location, let's focus on communicating, cause I just need the time and place to come through. Place to come through. Send me your location, let's ride the vibrations. I don't need nothing else but you. At times I wonder why I fool with you, but this is new to me, this is new to you. Initially, I didn't wanna fall, but you gathered my attention, it was all for you. So don't take advantage, don't leave my heart damaged. To understand that things go a little bit better when you plan it. Oh, so won't you send me your location, let's focus on communicating, cause I just need the time and place to come through. Send me your location, let's ride the vibrations. I don't need nothing else but you. I don't wanna fall in love off a subtweet, so let's get personal. I got a lot of cool spots that we can go. Tell me what's the move and I got you. I'm only acting like this cause I like you. Just give me the vibe to slide in. Oh, might make you mine by the night. Then send me your location, let's focus on communicating, cause I just need the
time and place to come through. Place to come through. Send me your location. Let's ride the vibrations. I don't need nothing else but you. I don't need nothing else but you. Ride, ride, ride. Come and vibe with me tonight. I don't need nothing else but you. I don't need nothing else but you. Ride, ride, ride. Come and vibe with me tonight. I don't need nothing else but you. Nothing else but you. She told me that I'm not enough, and she left me with a broken heart. She fooled me twice and it's all my fault. She cut too deep, now she left me scarred. Now there's so many thoughts going through my brain, and now I'm taking these shots like it's Novocaine. Yeah. Ooh, I fall apart. Down to my core. Ooh, I fall apart. Down to my core. Ooh, didn't know before. Surprised when you call me out, girl. Hardest damn jewelry I bought. You was my shorty I thought. Never caught a feeling this hard. Harder than the liquor I bought. Tell me you don't want me no more, but I can't let go. Everybody told me so. Feeling like I sold my soul. Devil in the form of a. Devil in the form of a. You said it. No, you said it. No, you said it. We'd be together. Oh, I fall apart. Down to my core. Ooh, I fall apart. Down to my core. Ooh, didn't know before. Surprised when you call me up, girl. Hardest damn jewelry I bought. You was my shorty I thought. Ice keep pouring and the drink keep flowing. Try to brush it off, but it keep on going. Covered in scars and I can't help showing. Whipping in the foreign and the tears keep blowing. Ice keep dropping and the drink keep flowing. Try to brush it off, but it keep on going. All these scars can't help from showing. Whipping in the foreign and the tears keep flowing. Yeah. Down to my core. Ooh, I fall apart. Down to my core. Ooh, didn't know it before. Surprised when you call me up, girl.
People who name their savings accounts save more than those who don't. The following was inspired by a Navy Federal Credit Union savings account named Family Vacation.
This was such a good call.
Oh, we needed this. What do you think the kids are up to?
Relaxing.
Open a Save First account with Navy Federal Credit Union and give a name to what you're saving for. NavyFederal.org. Open to everyone in the armed forces, the DoD, veterans, and their families. Federally insured by NCUA.
If I could go back to that day we met, I probably would just stay in bed. You run your mouth all over town, and this one goes out to the sound of breaking glass on my Range Rover. Pay me back or bitch, it's over. All the presents I would send, fuck my friends behind my shoulder. Next time I'ma stay asleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And you got me thinking lately, bitch, you crazy, and nothing's ever good enough. I wrote a little song for you, it go like, oh, rate me for so fucking done with you, girl. So fucking done with all the games you play. I ain't no tic-tac-toe. Save the X and O's on another note. I'm done. Rate me for so fucking done with you, girl. So say the X and O's on another note. If I could go back to that day we met, I probably would have stayed in bed. You wake up every day and make me feel like I'm incompetent. Designer shoes and Xanax tabs, compliments your makeup bag. You never had to buy yourself a drink, cause everybody want to tap that ass. And you got me thinking lately, bitch, you crazy, and nothing's ever good enough. I wrote a little song for you, it go like, oh, rate me for so fucking done with you, girl. So fucking done with all the games you play. I ain't no tic-tac-toe. Save the X and O's on another note. I'm done. Rate me for so fucking done with you, girl. So say the X and O's on another note. I'm close. I wrote a little song for you, it go like, do, re, mi, fa. So fucking done with you, girl. So fucking done with all the games you play. I ain't no tic-tac-toe. Save the X and O's on another note. I'm done, re, mi, fa. So fucking done with you, girl. So say the X and O's on another note. I'm close. So say the X and O's on another note. I'm close.
They say good guys ain't in style no more. Is this true? I beg to differ. They say good guys are hard to find these days. Is this true? I beg to differ. Oh yeah. Maybe you've been looking in the wrong place. Looking in the wrong place. Maybe you've been In the wrong place, looking. In the wrong place, baby, you've been looking. In the wrong place, looking. In the wrong place, baby, you've been in the wrong place, looking. In the wrong place. I know, I ain't too perfect. I do have a past. I done broke some hearts before. They said, we don't trust these fools. Tatiana's everywhere, oh my. We won't even try, cause good girls can't be found. But is this true? I beg to differ, oh yeah. Maybe you've been looking in the wrong place, looking in the wrong place. Maybe you've been in the wrong place, looking in the wrong place. Maybe you've been looking in the wrong place, looking in the wrong place. Maybe you've been in the wrong place, looking in the wrong place. Maybe you've been 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 looking in the wrong place. Looking in the wrong place. Maybe you've been in the wrong place. Looking in the wrong place. Maybe you've been looking in the wrong place. Looking in the wrong place. In the wrong place. Looking in the wrong place. In the wrong place. Oh yeah. In the wrong place. Maybe you've been in the wrong place. In the wrong place. Maybe you've been. My guy pretty like a girl, and he got 5 stories to tell. I see both sides like Chanel, see on both sides like Chanel. Swimming laps through pool water, eating like I'm underworld. Had my tattoos in Shibuya, police think I'm of the underworld. 12 treat a nigga like he 12. How you looking up to me and talking down? Can't you see I am the big man? God level, I am the I am. Now film it with the drone cam and the pink like Killer Kim. Zoom on that stick, no way. I'm so close, I'm on that kill. Controller on your lower back, yeah, that's the good. Dick will roll the eyes back in the skull. Rollin' when you ride, poppin'. Rollin' when you ride, Got one, straight actin'. Turned up like some dirty plastic. 2016 brought some discs. 2017 ideas playing off the Walgreens. This a cult, not a click on the net. With a cup, in a cup, activist. That's a double edge, it's a knife. And I don't like to fight, cause I'm fighting. Revenge in the air makes my lungs sick. Chopper in the sky like a gun trick. Clips on clips like Mike. It's really you. See both sides like Chanel. See on both sides like Chanel. It's really you on my mind. It's really you on my mind. It's really you. It's really you on my mind. Need both sides of the 12. Need both sides of the L. Free smoke rings in they hell. Sleet snow grind for the well. Whole team diamonds is real. Show them how to shine by themselves. You need a cosign for your help. I need that bitch to grind.
both sides, let you know. My pocket's snug. They can't hold my 7, they ban my Visa, my Amex and MasterCards. I got new money and it's all cash. I got new bags and they all collapsed. I rubber band a bunch of $1,000 Delta gift cards. I mean my baby boy, amazing the cash on unknown. I mean my baby boy, blazing the dash, got money at home. Pockets snug, they can't hold my 7, they ban my Visa, my Amex and MasterCards. I got new money and it's all cash. I got new bags and they all collapsed. I rubber band a bunch of $1,000 Delta gift cards. I mean my baby boy, amazing the cash on unknown. I mean my baby boy, blazing the dash, got money at home.
Welcome to episode 6 of Ethan Sees All. Buckle up and keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times, even if someone who looks like me tells you the opposite later on. Ignore him if you want to live. Enjoy! You know how the old saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. Especially if that child is as tall as a skyscraper, feeds on the blood of goats, and fires gamma rays from its singular centered eyeball. Then maybe conscript a second village. Ah, what a well-worn proverb. Neighbors helping neighbors is the foundation of prosperous community life. The bond formed between those left to face the merciless elements together is one stronger than steel, harder than diamond. Long before having small flying machines deliver your purchases was a luxury for more than just technical wizards, a neighbor willing to part with their surfeit of corn could mean surviving the harsh winter through. And though the winters of wherever aren't as frigid and likely to maim as they once were, the torch of rural hospitality still burns bright, even in those of us who've only recently begun to call wherever home. It must be contagious. Because when Domino, my upstairs neighbor and as of yet undiscovered rock star, wakes me with a crash against the ceiling, and then jostles me just as I'm lulling back into a dream with the high-pitched stuttering rings of a phone call, I do not spit venom through the receiver when I answer. Fumbling in the dark, I pull the wired headset to my ear. "This better be good," I groan, sleepily and irritably, looking to the analog readout of my tableside clock. In black and white leaves,